Today's guest is Yash Vardhan Swami. He is a fitness entrepreneur, a podcaster, and just a great guy who's wanting to be better every day. You will see how I've used my time with Yash very selfishly by bombarding him with all my questions on women's health. So if you're a woman looking to get fit or just understand your body, then this is the podcast for you. If you're a man, don't feel left out. We have lots of advice for you too. I loved Yash's insights on nutrition, food supplements, meditation, and how what gets tracked gets improved. He also shared his meditation experience where he just began with only 2 minutes every day. But now it has helped him be a better son, partner, friend, and leader. So listen to this very interesting conversation to begin your health and meditation journey today. Keep meditating. Welcome, Yash, on Pragyaan. I'm really excited to have you, and I have many questions. And many of my friends have also sent their questions because fitness is something that everyone wants to look good, feel good. So I think this is going to be a power-packed conversation. What I want to kick this off with is what I find very interesting about you is you decided to follow a professional career based on a lived experience. Which is you were feeling that you weren't fit early on when you were younger and you decided to lose 40 kilos. And a lot of your learnings from there really translated into the business that you run today. And the reason I draw that parallel is because in the tech world where I come from, if I talk about Uber, Travis and his partner really, or a co-founder really started this because they were in Paris and they were like, how do we get from this place to another place? And can we just do that with a tap on the phone? And that's how Uber started. I work for Truecaller. The way Nami and Alan started Truecaller was they just wanted to replicate the yellow pages onto a mobile. And so, a lot of the successful businesses emerge because the founder themselves had a challenge and they learned from it. And because they were trying to solve for it, in the process, really scaled up a massive business. And I see that analogy with you as well. So tell me a little bit about how did you really, lose those 40 kilos and a little bit about you so that folks who may not know you, I think most people should, but if they don't know you, they get a little bit of background and context.
Right. First of all, thank you for having me on one of the fastest growing podcasts of the country.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here. Okay, so talking about my journey, again, first 18 years of my life, I was obese, had 44 kgs to lose. For the first maybe 13 years, I did not even realize that it's a problem.
Sure.
My mom used to tell me that, okay, eat less. Mom used to, kind of count my calories and stuff like that. Not my calories, the amount of food I was having and stuff like that. But when I turned 13, 14-ish, I realized that, health is also something which matters. Personality is also something which matters. फिर जब वो वाला part start हुआ, that's when I started trying. And as you know, we humans are lazy and impatient. So I was just looking for shortcuts for a while.
We all do.
Yes, all of us do that in every area of our life. But after a while, I realized shortcuts are not working. When I turned 18, I was like, okay, I want to change. My summer vacation started and I just started going to the gym. I was like, even if nothing happens, I'll just keep on going to the gym. Few days in, some people started noticing some difference. Then I started getting on the weighing scale again and again. Then I realized, okay, I'm losing 1 kg, half kg, 4 kgs, and so on. And that's when the journey started. But this was kind of the first thing which I did in my life on my own. Right? Because fitness is something which has to be earned. ये आपको कोई गिफ्ट नहीं कर सकता. इस वाले केस में क्या था कि rest of my life, things were pretty gifted to me. Right, things were chill, ghar pe everything was good, had very good parenting and stuff like that. So this was kind of the first thing which I had earned in my life. So once I lost 5 kgs, 10 kgs and so on, I was like, I'm not going to stop. Apart from that, one thing which I experienced during that time was compliments. I never got genuine compliments in relation to something which I had achieved, but wo hona start hua. And during those 8 months, I lost like 44 kgs.
Wow.
And that's when I felt, okay, there's something called attention also. And during that time, just for my own transformation also, I started learning nutrition and stuff like that. And that's when the journey started.
Great. And you said something which is very interesting around attention, right? Also, in your teenage years, when you start to look better, you also start to get attention from the opposite sex, which is
Yes.
always nice, right? If girls are looking at you, or for women, of course, when you get attention from men, it makes a huge difference. Also helps you build your self worth to a very large extent. So tell me that then, when you sort of did this, how does this lived experience in some way reflect in the training or advice you give your clients as well?
Okay, so just after this, when I had lost the fat, I started helping people around me. It was just like that. And I was like, okay, I have helped myself, I can help others. But after a while, I realized that, I understand this thing deeply because I had kind of made all the mistakes under the sun when it comes to fat loss. So even whenever any of my client used to come up with any problem or any thought process or anything which is like maybe linked to extremism, shortcut or something like that, I always knew that because I had gone through that. I had made that mistake, so I was able to articulate that in a very good manner. And apart from that, talking about creating a business around your own problems. If you have lived that problem I had kind of lived that problem for 18 years of my life, right? So I can understand each and everything my clients are going through.
Yeah.
And this also gives me an opportunity to relive my own transformation. So, because that part of my life was very empowering. Yes, part after that was also empowering, but that part was empowering. So, definitely, if you have lived that problem for this long, you would be able to, number one, see, as I think we had a discussion before this where I told you that fat loss is basic. Everyone knows how to lose fat. Eat less, move more. So a lot of coaching boils down to communication. And communication, how can communication be empathetic? In my case, communication is very empathetic with my clients because I have gone through the same thing.
Yeah.
So the kind of words we use and everything else reflects, right? So communication is one part. Apart from that, this was one thing where I spent a lot of time learning just for my own transformation because I made all those mistakes. So stuff which I learned in the past and after that helps my clients also.
You touched upon something very interesting because you've been through it. There's a lot of empathy, and also I'm sure there must be very less judgment. Because when you've always been fit, it's very easy to start slotting people that you're fat because you're lazy. You're fat because you do junk eating and you're taking the easy path. But because you've been through it, I'm sure there's a lot more deeper understanding and connection with your clients as well. How do you train men and women differently? And there's a very vested interest in me going down that path because I also want to talk a lot about women's health because I feel it's very complicated. So how do you train men and women differently?
See, principles are the same because in the end, all humans are similar, but men and women are distinct. So number one difference is that the menstrual cycle. That is, men don't have a menstrual cycle, women do, right?
Yes.
That's one part. Second, men are logical in nature, women are emotional, right? So I'll give you a very simple example. If there's a day someone is following the diet and if that person is a guy, that person stands on the scale, weight is spiked up, the guy updates me, I just explain the scientific reason, they are sorted. On the other spectrum, if it's a woman, women have a thing when it comes to their weight moving, right? So if that's a woman, I have to explain the same thing in a very different manner, although along with logic also. So women have a very emotional relationship with this. And one part of that is that, this is not good or bad, but for women, the way they look matters a lot.
Yeah, a lot of social pressure as well, right? Around, especially in India, around how women look. Today, if a woman is fat, there's so many challenges that तुम्हारी शादी नहीं होगी, तुम ऐसे दिखोगी तो तुम्हें job नहीं मिलेगा. There's so many other social pressures also that a woman goes through. But a fat man, no problem. I'm not saying no problem. Yeah. I'm saying the social pressure is less. And they, of course, have other kinds of challenges. I'm not saying the challenge is bigger. I just think it's different from that point of view.
Challenges are actually totally different. For guys, maybe their career is prioritized when it comes to stuff like marriages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For a lot of women, it's like people look at the way the woman looks. But what I personally feel is that the way we as humans are wired is that in the end, everyone should be fit, right?
True.
Again, doesn't mean everyone should be having six-pack abs, but we shouldn't be obese, right? If we are in that place, we should actively work on that.
Yeah. So tell me, you spoke about the menstrual cycle and its connection with weight. Because I've also been training myself, and my trainer always tells me, and I changed over, by the way. I used to always work with a male trainer, and this time around I said no, I want to try and work with a trainer who's a woman, because I feel like she can understand me better, understand my body better, and to your earlier point, also be more empathetic.
Yes.
Because I found that when I was training with a male trainer, one, he was training me like he would train a man, so I didn't really feel the transformation happening so quickly within my body. Therefore, I felt that the woman trainer was able to understand my body better and also deal with me appropriately. And also, when I was weighing myself, she was able to tell me scientifically as well what's happening in my body, and that when it's just before the monthlies, your weight will go up during that time, and even 3-4 days after. So don't weigh yourself, and even if you do, don't get stressed about it, right? Because it's bound to be on the higher side. But tell me, even around weightlifting, right? There's lots of myths. Don't lift weights when you are in that time of the month, or don't do ab exercises. Is that really true in your experience? And do you really advise any sort of precautions to women during that time when they're working out, or you feel like all is fair game?
Right. I would like to start with explaining the menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle basically has two parts. First is the follicular phase, first 14 days. And the first day starts when the menstruation starts. So day one of the period is when the first day of follicular phase starts, first 14 days. Then around the mid-cycle, around the 14th day, there's ovulation. And the next 14 days are the luteal phase. Luteal phase is the latter half of the luteal phase, is the phase where PMS symptoms and all that stuff happens. So basically, week 2 and week 4 of menstrual cycle, your weight is supposed to be spiked up. It's different for everybody, every woman, but scientifically it is possible because of raging hormones. So week 2, estrogen would be higher. Week 4, progesterone would be higher, right? So talking about now answering your question.
That's also the time you don't mess with your girlfriend.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Right. That's when we should be meditating more as guys. Yes.
Calmness and zen-like state always.
Yes. I would like to discuss that for a minute, but first I'll answer your question. So what happens is when progesterone is higher in the luteal phase, just before the menstrual cycle starts, during that time, the woman's body is not as strong as the ovulation phase, plus the PMS symptoms, plus how a woman perceives the period psychologically, right? So it's all of these things together. So every case would be different. But yes, scientifically speaking, the woman wouldn't be as strong as the follicular phase. So that's one thing which we have to keep in mind, right? So the rule is depending upon the case. For example, if someone's PMS symptoms are really bad, what I would say is that, okay, today don't work out, just go for a walk.
Right.
But don't stay at home, just go for a walk, meditate, maybe perform some breathing exercises, or maybe go for any activity which you like. So that is the case for some women. On the other spectrum, there are these women who are working out just like that, right? Just like other days. So the answer is often in the gray area. But if someone is feeling uncomfortable during this time,
Sure.
don't work out. It's fine. Just go for a walk 1 day or even 3 to 4 days. It's not a big deal.
Makes sense. And you wanted to talk about the PMSing and the relationship part. I'm curious, what do you think about that?
Yes. So this has like 2 to 3 parts. First part is that, again, it's a little off context, but number one, guys should understand this part.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure guys would be watching this and would understand basics of the menstrual cycle.
No, a lot of men don't. I think
After this, they would.
After this, yes, I agree with you.
Yes.
मेरे इतने सारे दोस्त हैं, मैं उनकी जब शादी होने वाली होती है तो वो ये सब चीज़ों के बारे में फिर भी पढ़ते नहीं हैं. वो अपनी बीवी से उस टाइम समझने की कोशिश करते हैं.
Yes.
तो आपने ये जो you describe this in such a simple way, I think is very crucial. But please go on.
Yes, so guys should be empathetic. They should understand it. Guys should become understanding. But on the other spectrum, for women should be taking some ownership. What do I mean to say? That, slipping up once in a while when it comes to the mood, when it comes to communication, and when it comes to any issue, that's fine. But one trend which I've been seeing with some people is that they don't take ownership for that. They keep on doing anything whatsoever, and their answer is sorry, it was PMS, right? Also, another thing that if PMS symptoms can be improved by a lot by working on health, that means if someone has fat to lose fat, that would change the game. Fix deficiencies, take care of certain nutrients, specifically magnesium and B spectrum vitamins, and apart from that, meditate. Meditation is awesome because it improves your awareness, right? Because if someone has been meditating since a while, and even if there's some fluctuation in mood, their control has increased, right? So ownership on the woman's side, also some introspection would be great, that okay, my PM symptoms are worsening, that might be a sign that my health is getting messed up. So working on that on the women's part, and guys being super empathetic around this part, because it's very easy to say that okay, you're not going through anything, just like you said that if someone is obese, people say you are just lazy, just eat less, right? But everyone has a lot of mental struggles going on, so that's something which we should be considerate about.
Yeah, I always say that my good mood is just one workout away,
Yes.
or one run away, or one walk away. So I completely agree with you that when you go out and exercise, there's this almost like a dopamine hit that you get, and if you're feeling low, that really helps you get your mood up. So tell me that what is I also want to understand, is fat loss or the relationship that fat loss has on women's bodies any way different from what happens to men? Because I've seen that in my 30s now, and I have so many friends in my 40s. They feel their metabolism has slowed down. Just losing weight has become far more complex than it was in their 20s or earlier.
Okay, so fat loss for a man versus fat loss for a woman, things are little different. One of the main reasons is that women mostly have a petite structure, so their bodies are burning lesser calories. Second, it boils down to emotional regulation. Since women are dealing with a lot of stuff, plus the menstrual fluctuation, if that is coupled with lack of emotional regulation, losing fat becomes a very complex thing. The principle is the same, you have to eat less and move more, but eating less and moving more consistently becomes difficult. Now couple that up with the weight fluctuations. So all of these together cause issues, right? Also for women, one thing which I've seen is that once women start gaining fat, then it becomes a vicious circle. This is kind of regulated via insulin resistance. So basically अगर PCOD या PCOS हो जाता है, उसमें क्या होता है कि a lot of women who are obese deal with PCOD and PCOS. If they get it, their BMR goes down. That means their body is burning lesser calories now. Now, plus the cravings are higher. So, long story short, losing fat for them becomes a little harder because it's a little slower. Plus, ये weight वाली fluctuations होती है जो week 2 and week 4 of menstrual cycle में. All of these together, plus health repercussions for a woman when they have a lot of fat to lose are much higher as compared to men. So, थोड़ा सा complication है ज़्यादा, but in the end, principle is the same. Eat less, move more. Do that consistently.
Sure. And moving more is also, we have all these fads, right? Where I remember this whole thing around 10,000 steps came up through an arbitrary marketing campaign that took place in the 1964,
Yes.
I think, Japan Olympics. And we all are now stuck with that. So is there some scientific number behind 10,000? And do you really make that part of the advice you give your clients in terms
Yes.
of, hey, this is a target you must hit? So that movement becomes very core to the practice that you are trying to follow for you to lose weight.
Okay, so this has multiple aspects. Let's start with the science. Science says that your health would be better and your all-cause mortality would be lower from this range. The range of steps is from 8,000 to 12,000, right? So there is some science backing this number 10,000. The second aspect is 10,000 is a number which is doable by most people if they push themselves.
Yeah, you're right.
So another aspect to this is that if someone is walking 10,000 steps consistently, they're burning a lot more calories. because the amount of calories we burn are not just linked to the workouts. We can always, supplement that with steps. So steps plus workouts, that creates synergy. So that's another aspect. Apart from that, 10,000 is like more like a trophy, right? For someone who's just beginning with their journey.
Yeah.
10,000 is something which a lot of them can hit. But once they start hitting it every day they are reminding themselves that, okay, I'm a winner. Even if they're not seeing any victory on the scale, because obviously that's not immediate, but they feel a winner themselves every day because, okay, I completed the task, right? So it's like just ticking the checkbox.
And it makes a huge difference. I started wearing a Garmin in the beginning of this year only because of this,
Yes.
because I felt like if I'm not tracking my movement, then it's all very intuitive. And once I started tracking it, you're right. When you see that, the fireworks on your phone saying you've
Yes.
hit your goal,
Yes.
I know it's childish, but it still makes you feel like, okay, I want to do that again tomorrow, and you keep increasing that goal. And I see that you're wearing an aura ring,
Yes.
which is very interesting. So tell me, do you have any recommendations on what's a good device to start off your fitness journey with?
See, starting with talking about devices, what gets tracked gets improved. It's a rule for everything, from our bank balances to everything else. So, first thing which we need to keep in mind is that whenever we are getting any device, we have to ask ourselves, what is the purpose, right?
Yeah.
So, I got Aura for tracking my sleep. Because over the years, I realized that, okay, I'm teaching people how to improve their sleep, but my own sleep is messed up. Also, when I started tracking it, everything improved, right? So, depending upon the purpose, one thing which is not accurate uh, amongst most of these devices is the amount of calories we burn.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not accurate in most devices. It can be any brand, any company. On the other spectrum, heart rate is pretty accurate on most good devices.
Sure.
Steps are accurate on most good devices. And so any device is fine. But the question is, what do you want to track? If you want to track sleep, I would highly recommend Aura, because I wouldn't say it's the most accurate thing in the world, but it is the most accurate thing we can find. And again, the principle is the same. What gets tracked gets improved.
So you spoke about sleep, and do you feel like, I do want to jump into the role of recovery, because we very often tend to ignore that. I do that as well. I actually had a back injury in the beginning of this year only because of the fact that I had not recovered from my earlier deadlift workout, and I
Yes.
was feeling stiff in my back, and I still went ahead and did
Yes.
some more Roman deadlifts, and then my back was in a spasm, right?
Yes.
And so I think I realized very importantly that as you grow older, recovery is very important, sleep is very important, hydration is very important. But what else do you really recommend? Because in our fast-paced lives, sometimes you don't get time to recover, and you jump on that treadmill or you go decide to lift that weight, and only after you got yourself injured you realize, "Arey yaar, pehle karna chahiye tha." So
Yes.
what's some basic tools around that or other guardrails around that?
See, before I give you the tools, first question is why sleep enough? Question is understanding that, why sleep is important. Sleep is important for everything, from emotional regulation to our neurotransmitter function, our brain chemicals, to our hormonal function, to managing health, to literally from physical health to mental health. Now, talking about if someone is interested in losing fat, how would this come into play? Number one, your emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, if you're not sleeping enough, next day you'll lose trust in process. Everything else is fine, but you're not feeling you're 100%. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is worthless.
Yeah.
Next is your hunger and cravings. If you're not sleeping enough, your hunger hormone, which is called ghrelin, goes up. Leptin hormone, which is also called the mother of all fat burning hormones, which takes care of satiety, goes down. Right? So satiety is going down, hunger is going up, cravings would be much higher. Apart from that, as we all know, this is like common knowledge that if you don't sleep enough, you'll be lethargic the next day. That means you won't feel like working out. Chances of injury are higher because you haven't recovered properly. Inflammation is higher. Long story short, if you want to improve sleep, see, if we talk about importance of sleep, we spend 1/3 of our life sleeping. It is something important, and that should be prioritized, right? That's the first thing. So understanding that, that's what. Now talking about recovery and recovery related tools. First question is asking ourselves that are my basics taken care of? Basics include hydration, then include nutrition, which includes your macronutrients, that is the protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and micronutrients, that is the vitamins and minerals. Sleep, Next is taking care of your cardiovascular health. There are some people who just who don't focus, who don't do perform all-round workouts. So that means yes, you should weight train. Yes, you should perform your yoga and whatever you want to do. Just mix and match. Make sure you're training your heart also, because it is one of the most important muscles.
Yeah.
Apart from that, one advantage of cardiovascular work, that means performing cardio, is that it's a hormetic stressor. It improves your body's stress resilience. So अगर stress resilience improve हो रही है तो normal life stress wouldn't feel that much, because your body is used to more stress, which is coming from your workouts.
Oh, very interesting. I never knew that. That's very, so it can also help you with lot many more things coming at you in life just because you're doing a lot more cardio.
Yeah,
your
you can
body-
handle a lot more. Your window of tolerance increases.
Oh, amazing. And you know, I'm glad you spoke about sleep because in this day and age where, you know, you hear a lot of the successful entrepreneurs and founders saying कि मैं सिर्फ 4 घंटे सोता हूँ, मैं 5 घंटे सोता हूँ, I sleep in the office. You know, it's become very fashionable to say I sleep less and that helps me with my productivity. But from what you're telling me, is it's actually counterintuitive.
Yes.
So you need to really rest your body as much as you can to be ready for your day, not only for your mind, but also for your body. Tell me another thing that, you know, you spoke a lot about fat loss, and I loved your theory even in some of the reels that I've seen on your page, which is you always talk about fat loss in the context of even the attitude that people have towards working out.
Yes.
And so that's also one of the incentives why you went ahead and started studying psychology.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how have you seen this play out in many of your transformations?
I'll talk about what has been happening in the last 3 years. That, you know, since we have built a brand and stuff like that, so most of the people who become our clients have consumed our content for very long. So over the years, if someone has consumed our content for very long, they kind of have this much amount of trust in process. Even if we give them anything, they know that they are going to transform. So number one thing is trust in process. Next is we specifically work on their psychology, and we start with understanding their why. I ask them, what is your why, right? So we start with, you know, them finding their why and them leading the way. We are just a guiding light, right? So we make sure that, you know, we are just the guiding light and they have to move past it. Apart from that, see, the principles when it comes to working on psychology literally remain the same across everything we do in our life. Number one, take ownership. Take 100% ownership for everything. Next is obviously understanding motivation, discipline, and habits. Most of the people are actually running on motivation. But motivation is awesome, but it is temporary. So goal should be building discipline. Apart from that, one place where I see a lot of people going wrong is that when they start with something, they expect perfection out of themselves. They forget that they are humans. So I always tell them that, you know, you're a human. It's fine to make mistakes as humans, but smart humans make mistakes and improvise and don't repeat them.
Absolutely, you know, very well said. The other thing that really stood out for me is in your program is that you also give people ways to maintain that fitness level that they have achieved with you. Because usually the problem is that you fall off the tracks very quickly. You come back, you're very enthused, you lose the weight, and then before you know it, 3 months in, you've put on a lot of that
Yes.
weight back on. So what is it that you teach them or tell them so that they're on that path for much longer?
See, one thing is that, you know, it's the frame of mind. From day one itself, we tell them that, okay, get your expectation right. This is the last time we are making you diet, but we can't regress back to your current lifestyle. But that doesn't mean that you won't be enjoying your life. So once we are ending their fat loss phase and stuff like that, we try to integrate everything in the lifestyle. And in the final phase, we are like, okay, you just have to update us what you are doing in your life. There's no restriction from our side. We'll help you improvise. Another thing is we make sure that the transformation is actually complete. That means it's done and dusted, because once it is done and dusted, there's this identity change which happens, right? Also, making sure that they are loving the process from day one itself. That's one important part. Also, understanding that, you know, falling off the wagon is fine, but staying off the wagon is not. right? And also, it's not about how many times you fall off the wagon. It's it's about how many times and how quickly you get back on track. So where people go wrong with fitness is that there's this one bad meal leads to one bad day, one bad day leads to one weekend, but that one weekend becomes 1 week, 1 month, and a few months. Then they have a wake up call again, right? This is where most of us go wrong, because it's like one meal is fine. It's not a big deal, right? One salad won't get you six pack. One meal won't make you obese, right? Same goes
true.
for 1 day and 2 days. It's like, how quickly we can get back on track. That changes the game.
So you try and integrate this new life that they are sort of working with you on to become far more consistent with these habits that you are sort of guiding them through. How do you really define transformation? So early on, like you said, you sit down with them, you decide the why. Do you set goals and stuff? And is that how you define transformation? Because that can mean different things for different people, right?
A transformation is everything. It's like, the transformation starts when you decide, okay, I need to change, right? A transformation starts when you accept, okay, my situation is not right now. I need to improvise it for future. Next is when you mix it up with a deep why that, okay, this is why I'm doing it. It's not just about before and after pictures. It's not just about some attention. It's about the changes it's going to bring in, the confidence which is going to stay with me 24/7. Then what we do is we look at their lifestyle. We see, okay, this is where you are right now. This is your eating pattern. This is what you enjoy. This is what you don't enjoy. Then we try to, it's like find a middle ground. Coaching is not about finding what is optimal. It's about finding what is optimal and what is preferable by the client and finding a middle ground.
And what's practical for them to follow through on.
Next thing which changes the game is when they start trusting themselves again, right? That is also part of transformation. Obviously, the physical transformation is also part of transformation, because in the end, weighing scale changes, difference in how clothes fit and stuff like that. These are the biggest motivators. So that is also part of transformation. Next is the education, things they learn, and the principles they learn and understand, and the kind of trust they build in themselves. That is the actual transformation. So in the end, it's everything. Alongside, we also work on nutrition is one part of it. Training is one part of it. We try to make everything holistic. We also make sure stress is taken care of, because all of these things, sleep is one part. All of these things directly or indirectly can affect the transformation, right? So we learn, we understand our why, we understand how everything integrates with the goal they want, because most of the people who join us want that physical change, right?
Very true.
But understanding how these small things, for example, sleep and everything else, is needed, and how it can change the life, and last but not the least, experiencing the change, then telling yourself, okay, I can stay there, and trusting yourself.
Which is the biggest win, no?
Yes.
That allows you to bridge that gap between knowing and doing. Because when you see that change within you, like you saw even for your own
Yes.
self, then you want to get up and go to the gym on your own. You don't
Yes.
need anyone else to really tell you about that. So nutrition is a very important part. And look, I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be this very difficult person, because constantly we are told about the importance of protein.
Yeah.
And nutrition is really sort of the foundation of just being healthy. I think I was reading about this, and one of the studies basically said that India broadly overall, if you were to take an average, is a protein deficient country in the way we eat and the way we consume our daily diets. And I think vegetarianism could be one aspect of it. But I'd love to know how you work with vegetarians differently, and how do you fill that deficit for them? Because मतलब कितना tofu और दाल खा लोगे, मतलब there
Yes.
has to be something more to it. So firstly, is this protein concept a myth, or it's something that is really required for your body? And then how do you fill that deficit for vegetarians?
The study is 100% correct. Protein is very important, and the biggest issue with our Indian diet is protein is lacking. Carbohydrates, etc., sources, everything else is good. It's just that protein is less, right? Now, the solution is very simple. add those protein sources, right? Even if you're a vegetarian, you can have any dairy source, low-fat version, low-fat paneer is fine, low-fat yogurt is fine, low-fat milk, soy, tofu. Yes, now you would be like, okay, the list has ended. The answer is yes. So the only disadvantage, we have as vegetarians is that, the protein options are limited. Whey protein is a very good option. So basically mainly limited to dairy and soy protein sources. Whey protein, although stuff like whey protein, which is processed from dairy, it's very convenient, right? So step number one for everybody is that, if there's I'll give you an example. If there's a female who's a vegetarian and is like, okay,
Yeah, you're talking about me.
Okay, I love everything. I love everything in the plan, but I don't like protein. Now I'm going to explain the science. Okay, do you want good skin? Protein. Do you want good organ health? Protein. Do you want longevity in your life? Protein. Do you want to look toned? Protein. You need lean body mass? Protein. So protein is very, very important, and it is lacking in diets for most people who are vegetarians. Most people who are obese, in 95% of the cases, although I don't remember a single case where someone was obese and they had enough protein in their diet. Because protein is satiating in nature.
Yes.
Right? You feel full, right? Apart from that, it increases something called GLP-1. Protein sources are full of micronutrients also. So there's an indirect benefit also. And plus, protein sources are a little boring. But adding masala, salt and all these things, masalas, good recipes, etc. can sort it out. But again, it starts with understanding how important protein is.
And also breaking down protein for the body is also a complex process. So you burn many more calories while you're burning protein vis-a-vis other sources. So firstly, incredible.
Good to see your knowledge though.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I am very curious about just my own, body, and being a professional golfer early on, though most people don't think golf is an intense sport, but you do tend to learn about what to eat, how to exercise, at what time. So you just get far more aware of what works for you and what doesn't. The one thing that you didn't mention, you said very important for skin, for organ health, all of that, is just protein equals strength, right? Because I have always lived under this myth. Every golfer has made fun of me saying, you're not able to hit the ball long because you're a vegetarian. मतलब क्या घास फूस पे थोड़ी ना बॉल लंबी मार सकते हैं, थोड़ी अंडे खा, chicken खा, only eat some mutton only, then you can hit the ball long. So I want you to tell me, is that really again something which is true? And I'll build a little bit more on it after I hear from you.
It's an indirect correlation because protein is required for your body to build lean body mass, right? Since I was talking about the toned look. Because for women, if I say you want to build muscle, they would be like, no, okay, I don't want protein at all. But you want that toned look, you need lean body mass, right? Lean body mass, for retention of lean body mass and for building lean body mass, enough protein is required. So that way, yes, it equates to strength. So for example, if there are two athletes, one of them is having enough protein, other one is not. So the person who is not, their recovery won't be optimal. So their strength won't be optimal.
Interesting. So I saw this very sort of mind-boggling and eye-opening documentary for me, which was something called The Game Changers. I saw it on Netflix, and it showed how the strongest man today, he's based out of Germany, and his name is, let me just pull that up for you. His name is Patrick Babomian, and he's been a professional strongman and former Germany's strongest man with multiple world records. And he basically has a plant-based diet. And so for me, that was quite shocking to see because of this myth around how if you're not consuming protein from animal sources, that there's no way you can be strong. Or when you look at even athletes like Novak Djokovic, or you look at Virat Kohli, they're all turning vegan and they feel like their recovery is quicker, they are getting fitter. So which side of the debate are you on, and what are your reasons for it?
See, the movie was totally crap, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay, I love it.
Because, there are these agendas. Don't take your nutrition advice from Netflix. Don't take it from me also, but don't take it from Netflix, right? Netflix, you watch your favorite shows. But
no, I'm happy to take it from you because you're qualified.
No, even if anyone is watching, do your own research. Don't take advice from these movies. These movies are literally, I don't know the exact purpose, because there's this, the producer had a vegan company, had invested money in the vegan company. I haven't done my research on that, to be honest, but that was one of the reports
Basically,
which I read.
vested agenda tha uska.
Yes. Apart from that, that in the end they are looking for attention and views. Obviously, if you talk about such stuff, people would watch it, right? That's one part. Talking about Virat Kohli recently tweeted that, I never said that I'm a vegan. So that was one part.
Oh, I
Apart
didn't know
from
that.
uh, again, now let me simplify it for you. If there's a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian, both are having equal amount of protein, equal amount of nutrients, there would be no difference whatsoever, right? So that's one thing which we need to understand. But for a vegetarian, it's harder to obtain protein. So that means a vegetarian has to go the extra mile,
Yeah.
right? Non-vegetarians might have some advantages indirectly due to the micronutrients. But again, protein kya hai? If you're consuming any source of protein, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, as long as it is a complete source of protein, it would be converted into amino acids in the body. So your body does not directly know कि है what is the source.
I
right?
understand.
तो amino acids में convert हो रहा है, तो vegetarian non-vegetarian कोई फर्क नहीं है. It's just that it's a little easier for non-vegetarians. But I personally know so many non-vegetarians who don't have enough protein in their diet, and that's their biggest problem.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, okay, that's interesting. I also want to come back to a little bit about women health, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm now noticing that a lot of women in their late 40s and even later on in their lives are really ailing with osteoporosis, right? And that's something that once you're in that journey is very difficult to stall.
Yes.
But if early on in your life you are able to take the right calcium, exercise, whatever else you
Yes.
suggest, can help them stall that process a little bit or slow
Yes.
it down for sure. So, what is it that you can share with us that maybe people of my age group or younger women can already get into or include in their routine, both from a food supplement point of view and also from an exercise regime point of view?
Number one, start with vitamin D3. Start with getting your blood work done, right? Check your blood work. 85% of Indians have vitamin D3 deficiency. And a lot of times when we talk about osteoporosis and stuff like that, we just think about calcium. But how is calcium absorbed in the body? Vitamin D is required, right? So number one is get your blood work done. If vitamin D3 is low, don't listen to me. Talk to your doctor. Go and talk to your doctor. Think about vitamin K. Think about calcium also. Calcium is also equally important. But it starts with vitamin D3, right? Start with vitamin D3. Have enough protein. Apart from that, for bone health, weight training is amazing, right? Weight training is amazing for bone health and even longevity, right? There are studies on that, if you weight train and because if you are weight training progressively over time and recovering properly, you'll gain some lean body mass, not muscles, but lean body mass and strength. That is equated to longer lifespans also.
Fantastic. So, do the blood work. You're right. Most of us, our vitamin D, B12 is always low. I've noticed that about myself as well.
I'll give you a list.
Ha, please do.
D3, B12, iron. These are the top ones, right? Magnesium, zinc, selenium if someone is dealing with hypothyroidism, iodine if someone is dealing with hypothyroidism. These are the main ones. And protein. Protein is a macronutrient, but these are the common deficiencies.
Great. So you look at the outcome of that and then basically decide what you need to supplement your diet with
Yes.
when it comes to, and this can really help you coupled with strength training to, I think, broadly be able to.
In our body, everything is kind of interconnected.
Yeah.
Right. So we can't have a one-sided view that okay, I'll just take care of nutrients and my health would be 100% sorted. So it has to be movement and exercise. It has to be nutrition. It has to be hydration, and it has to be sleep also, and stress management. Since we are our lives are full of stress, take care of these 5 things and you'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you call your training a holistic approach, right? Because you look at all of this, and I think that's what I found most unique, and therefore wanted to have this conversation with you, because your approach was a little bit different compared to most others who I have worked with and spoken with. I also wanted to talk to you about the mental health and the well-being aspect. I understood from looking at your Instagram is that you're a meditator.
Yes.
Tell me, how did you find what and which path you want to follow? Because that's always
Yes.
a big journey and a big part of people not wanting to start. And when you started, how difficult was it for you?
So I started meditating like 4 years back. The only issue in my life after I started working was were my anger issues, right? I had no control over my anger, and over time I realized that okay, this is something which I have to control because in the end it is harming me more than it's harming anyone else. So that was one thing which I had realized when I started working because obviously once you start working, once you are dealing with other people, you have to have full control on yourselves. So that's one thing which I had realized. So there was this campaign, business campaign, which I was running because of which I started facing disturbed sleep. So I'd already always heard about that. Okay, meditation is cool. Mom used to meditate, so I was like, okay, I'll start meditating pre-sleep just to improve my sleep. I did that for 2 to 3 days. Sleep improved, and that is when it started.
Okay.
But one weekend I started feeling better. I started feeling more aware of my, more in control. No, aware is not the right word. Awareness is something which I felt later on, but more in control of myself. And my mom used to appreciate me every day. That okay, I'm proud of you because you're meditating.
Wow.
So that's one thing which started. I started with a very basic meditation. It's called body scan. So it's very simple, 3 to 5 minutes. They just guide you that okay, now think about your arms, think about your legs. Obviously, it's not uh, it's not like the way I am saying it, but it's better. So body scan is great because for beginners they don't have any thought control. We have a lot of random thoughts, and lot of us think that getting thoughts while meditating is the wrong thing, which is a misconception,
So true.
right? Because I've been meditating for almost 4 years, almost every day, and I still have thoughts. But again, what meditation teaches you is that it's not removing thoughts; it's actually accepting them, accepting thoughts, and finding the difference between what is true, what is not. Because we have like 60,000 thoughts every day. All humans have almost 60,000 thoughts every day, and the quality of thoughts dictate quality of life. So if we over time understand how we can control our thoughts, and all of this is coming via awareness and meditation. So in scientific terms, it's called metacognition, awareness of your own thoughts,
Yeah.
that whether these thoughts are true or not. Because we as humans are wired for survival. We are wired for thinking of the worst case scenarios for everything, and most of these worst case scenarios are not true, wouldn't ever be true. So if we get that awareness, that always helps. And started with that. Then I performed a short course on meditation on this app called Headspace. After that, I started with Isha Kriya. I just stumbled across Sadhguru because I saw some reels, so I was like, let me check it out. So one thing which I noticed about Sadhguru was that whenever he used to talk about something scientific, his facts were always true. I always used to cross check because a lot of times in the spiritual realm, people just fool around with science. They include their science, but that's like that's just fluff, right? But in Sadhguru's case, it was always accurate. Then I was like, that's very cool. So I started with Isha Kriya, but the kind of effects I felt after Isha Kriya, they were kind of unmatched. Again, most of the people to whom I recommend meditation, I don't say start with the Isha Kriya. I say start with something very basic. Then try 3 to 4 different meditations and take a call over it.
So you said you felt lots of differences while you were doing Isha Kriya. Can you tell me or share one or two instances or one or two changes that you observed very early on, and maybe something which is more
Yes.
recent?
One is that I found my spiritual path while meditating. Now, I'm a scientific kind of guy, but I literally saw imprint of Shivji while meditating. And the funny part is that, no one at my home specifically is a devotee of Shivji, or neither I ever thought about that. I just saw an imprint of him, and then, my spiritual journey started. Now, it might sound funny, it might sound metaphysical, but a lot of times, multiple times, this has happened that, I have a problem. I don't have a solution, then I'm like, okay, I'll go and meditate just to, feel better. Because scientifically speaking, when you're meditating, when you're performing breathing practice, it is supposed to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. That is the rest and digest mode, the calm mode. So that's one scientific benefit. If this is this is specifically for those who don't care that much about awareness, because talking about awareness specifically has to be felt. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything.
I agree with you.
So, whenever I used to meditate, multiple times this happened that my problem got solved within the next few minutes, few hours. Right? Again, might sound funny, might sound metaphysical, but that actually happened multiple times. So that's one part. Before this podcast also, I literally meditated Isha Kriya only. And at times I do switch up, but Isha Kriya is which I love.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that any of this is not possible or is what you said, metaphysical. Yes, it's going into metaphysical, but like you very rightly pointed out early on, that regulating the mind and the quality of thoughts is the quality of your life.
Yes.
And so what you're basically saying is that when you're meditating for the first time, you're actually listening to your thoughts, you're manifesting, or in some ways also seeing a positive life for yourself. And through that meditation, you're also able to solve and break down very complex problems, because sometimes not doing also really helps in solving the problem by itself.
Yes.
I've noticed that as well through my own meditative practice, because you're able to detach and not have that ego of, oh, I will go solve for it.
Yes.
It actually solves itself, and
Yes.
sometimes solves itself even better than I could have done if I was very attached to that problem. So, do you regularly recommend meditation as part of your training as well, or do you basically show people the path and be like, if you want to try it, you can give it a go?
So it depends on the case. In some cases, I would say that you got to do it, right? Because we go very deep when it comes to the analysis, understanding. Because again, like I mentioned, that for most people know how to lose fat. Now, why are they not able to get it? Because there are some complications happening, maybe in their life, maybe the complications have been in their own transformational or fat loss journey. So in a lot of cases, I do recommend it. In a lot of cases, I recommend it after a few weeks, because if I see that our main priority, I don't want to regress from the main priority. The client has joined the coaching service because they want to see physical results.
True.
Now, if I see that this person cannot right now handle so many tasks, nutrition, steps, sleep, and everything else, I start with the things which are highest on the priority list. But sooner or later, I get them started. One reason for that is my mom literally never asked me how much money are you earning, how many clients are you coaching. She asked me how many people have you helped with meditation. So I'm like, okay, that's one part.
No,
that's
but
one motivation
amazing,
for me.
because she's basically forcing you to think about impact and define success not through just monetary terms,
Yes.
but the lives you're touching and changing. Amazing. Yeah, no, I think those things and the environment around you also helps you become who you are. So it's great to have supporters and a mom like that. I also have, you also shared a very interesting framework with me on meditation that you have developed. So can you share a little bit more about that framework? Because I'd love for people who are listening in to know a lot more about it. And how did you come up with that framework?
Okay, so the framework is, how did I come up with that? It was literally my own experience with myself and with others, because most of the things I do in my life have come from my own experience, from fat loss to other stuff. So when I actually started meditation, before that, I tried a few times, right? One of the biggest misconceptions I had was that, we have to do it for 30 minutes. Other one was that, we have to do it in the morning. So when I actually started out, I just had to fix my sleep. So I was like, I'll do it pre-sleep. And I used to literally lie down on my bed and start it. I wasn't even sitting in that position and stuff like that. So rule number 1 is just get it done. Timing doesn't matter. Timing at which you perform it doesn't matter. The method which you perform it with doesn't matter. So that's the base of the framework, that just get it done. Just get it done. And everything should start with you having a deep why. That means, why do you want to do it? Understanding the science. The science just has 3 parts. Number 1, immediately it's going to improve your sympathetic nervous system balance. That means it's going to calm you down because you're breathing and you are spending time in that space. It's kind of intermittent fasting for your mind. The next benefit is gyrification of your brain. That means your ideas get better. Ideas get better, you get more creative. And the third part is awareness, right? These are the 3 parts. Understand this part. And again, awareness is of 2 things, your thoughts and your mood. This is this is the benefit. Now, before starting, don't start randomly. Ask yourself, are you seeking any of these benefits? If the answer is yes, then you move to step 2. Now, step 2 is essentially sustainability over anything else. Play the long-term game. Even if you think 2 minutes are sustainable, start with that. And slowly and steadily taper it up. Next is, what is the best form of meditation? There's no form which is better. The one which you can do long-term, right? So, I personally find body scan very doable, especially for beginners. Next is the most important part. Don't expect your brain to be thought-free. And don't try to push away thoughts. I'll give you an example here. You're meditating and there's a random thought in your mind. You are like, okay, I want to push this thought out. Maybe someone is thinking about their ex, right? So what we try to do is we try to push that thought out.
Yeah.
Which is very wrong. I'll give you an example. Everyone watching this, do not think about a yellow teddy bear. You just thought about it. That's how our human brain works. This is reactance theory. So whenever you're trying to push things out,
it will come more to you.
Yes. There's a pushback, right? So whenever there's a thought, think about, letting it be. Think about you lying down on a grass in a garden or something like that, and there are these clouds which are moving, right? Can you stop the clouds? The answer is no. You can just observe them. So observe your thoughts like you observe the clouds. And that's one part. Don't expect yourself to be thought-free. Learn how to live with the thoughts. Because, that is going to change the game. Last but not the least, this is the second last actually. Next is increase your meditation time by 2 to 3 minutes every 2 to 3 weeks, right? Start with 2 minutes, that's fine, right? And over time, just reach the number, whatever is sustainable for you. For me, 18 minutes is sustainable. And I have been meditating since 4 years, right? I haven't ever tried to go to 30 minutes also. Because I know that, for my lifestyle, for the amount of time I can give to this, 18 minutes is fine. Last but not the least, never miss 2 days. That means it's called the 2-day rule. That, missing 1 day is inevitable. In the end, we are humans. But make sure you don't miss 2 days consecutively. You have missed 1 day, that's fine. You're humans. Humans make mistakes. Just improvise, but do it on the next day. Because once we miss 2 days, then it becomes 3, then it becomes a week, then it becomes a month.
Yeah.
And last but not the least, meditation would change your life, but don't expect immediate magic. Magic happens, but it happens in the background. For that, you need to pursue it long term.
No, you've shared so much in there, which I absolutely love because it aligns with so much of what I believe in. Also, I loved what you said about it being consistent. And, just like muscle building, meditation and your inner strength is also similar.
Yes.
Every day it becomes better. So it's not going to be one magical day that you will suddenly have a six-pack.
Yes.
It carves out and shows you improvement every single day when you go to the gym, and meditation is very similar. What do you think has helped you, or rather, how has meditation helped you be a better son, a better partner, a better friend, also a better leader? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So my awareness of myself has increased so much that, okay, so for most of us humans, what we do is we make a lot of mistakes and we kind of, keep on repeating the mistakes. One thing which has been the biggest change is my feedback loop has become crazy. That means I make a mistake, I immediately know. My brain, I don't even try to deceive myself by justifying it. Because you'll see psychopaths, you'll see murderers justifying their murder. They have their own reasons.
Their own story.
You can justify everything. And we as humans are beings of self-deception. A lot of times we deceive ourselves, right? So this part has become zero for me. That means my self-awareness is so high that if I made a mistake, I'll apologize immediately. So number one thing which it has helped me with is my relationships have improved. Yes, I goof up, but I immediately apologize, because earlier what used to happen was I used to justify it to myself, lying to self, then, not taking ownership. Next is, ownership for everything has increased. Next is, I have started embracing simplicity, because in the end, life is simple, simplicity is not. Fat loss is simple, eat less, move more, but there is complexity in simplicity, right? So, things have become very simple, and, life principles have become very sorted. Again, right, some of the life principles which can change everyone's life are consistency. Next is ownership. Third is self-improvement. start with these and improvising from mistakes. These four. Life is, based around these, and success when it comes to any area of our life, health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality, all of these are, revolving around these four things. But again, it's just meditation has helped me stick to these and be sustainable with them. But again, the magic is in awareness, but those who haven't felt it can't, won't feel that, okay, awareness matters.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one aspect.
Yeah. No, I agree. Unless you've not experienced those moments where the magic happens, it's all very out there and seems almost inaccessible. But as you have explained, it's extremely simple to do, and start with even 2 minutes or 5 minutes, but just start that inner journey, because that's crucial. I love what you said about not lying to ourselves, right? Because it also helps you be authentic. And I think when very often we accept ourselves the way we are, it's also very easy then to accept others around us
Yes.
as they are, and
Yes.
you're okay with that. And so that allows you to also be, in your case, a better coach, a better leader, and hopefully, in my case also, I think show up as a better version of myself every day, because I know that there is so much that I'm not doing that I should be doing,
Yes.
that it just feels okay if somebody else makes a mistake. Like you were saying about angry.
Yes.
I used to have that challenge. I don't get angry that much, because you suddenly realize, khud to ho nahi raha hai.
Yes.
How can you expect somebody else to reach those standards? So
Yes.
let's just first work on ourselves. Let me work on myself. Let me make sure that I am doing what I need to do, and then get into judgment with others. You also have a podcast on relationships that I
Yes.
found very interesting. And so, I was also, I like watching content. So I was watching the Made in Heaven season 2, which just came out yesterday.
Yes.
And, of course, you see the complexity of relationships around you.
Yes.
But when it's on a TV show, it suddenly becomes alive, right? Like,
Yeah.
it brings to you the inauthentic selves that we bring to a marriage very often, or to a relationship
Yes.
like that, because it's no more about a girl loving a boy. There are
Yes.
so many social pressures and complexities that come with that. Do you often talk about that in your podcast? How do you suggest people navigate around that? Because it's no more as simple as, oh, I love you and let's get married and happily ever after. There's a lot more in there.
So we as humans are very complex. It's a fact, right? We don't even know ourselves. So when we talk about a relationship, it's like two humans, right? And complexities and their past, right? And their unmanaged emotions, unmanaged past, unmanaged present, plus a lot of stress, plus a lot of competition happening, because for finding the mate, there's a competition which happens. It's a very subconscious thing.
But it does happen, you're
Yes.
right?
Yes, and all of these together make things complex, which lead to a lot of issues, right? The biggest issue with relationships is that these issues are unaddressed. And again, my journey has been the same with everything I do. For relationships also, we had messed up the relationship. There were a lot of differences, and we started working on the relationship 2 years back in 2021 November. It was the 5th or 6th year of the relationship, and we realized that okay, everything is good on paper, but we are not feeling it.
No, so please give a little bit more context, because of course you shared that with me, but for our listeners, that you've just got you'd had your roka right now, you're going to get married next year, and you've basically been dating your partner for about 6 years, you said?
8 years.
8 years, yeah. So that's the context, and now please tell me what else you were saying.
Basically, we started dating 8 years back. Both of us were young, and first few months were very good. After that, Akanksha moved out. That means it was a long distance relationship because of her college for 3 years. That's when things started getting messed up. But we kept on, improvising and stuff like that. But when she got back post COVID, we kind of became distant. On Instagram, everything was perfect, literally. On paper, also everything was perfect, because she's one of the best humans I have ever met. But we had become distant, right? I had stopped sharing stuff, and there were a lot of things. Everything we have covered in the in Impossible Love season 1. So we started becoming distant, but and I started becoming feeling lonely. I was like that, everything is perfect, everything is good. I have a partner, long term partner who I'm very comfortable with. What is happening? That then around November 2021, I was like, we need to stop. Then we took a break for like 15 days. That's when we started building it. So that's when we realized that perfect couples are not meant in heaven. They perfect relationships are built on earth, right? You need to work on it day in and day out.
Great line. I love it.
This is like I haven't seen it anywhere. This is something which I have manufactured.
Sure. And
And
that's why
yes,
it's original and authentic.
yes, yes. So that's something which we realized back in 2021, and after that, when once we started working on it, yes, obviously it's difficult short term, but last 2 years have been the best in the relationship, and we haven't been. I couldn't be this sure of anyone. When I proposed my girlfriend, I told her that I can't be more sure of anyone, and although the case was polar opposite back in 2021. So that's when we realized that these are the things which we have to work on day in and day out. This is my girlfriend's favorite quote that grass is always greener on the side where you water it. It's not greener on the other side. So that's what we started doing, watering our own relationship every day, and yeah, and now we are sharing our experiences, the mistakes we made, how did we work around them, along with science, along with psychology, because during this time I started learning psychology also, started listening to Jordan Peterson. He has this quote, conflict delayed is conflict multiplied. It's one of my favorites, and it applies so perfectly when it comes to today's relationships. And it applied to my relationship also, because over time what I started doing was, that instead of talking it out, or even if instead of fighting it out, I used to be like, okay, it's fine.
Avoidant.
Right? And yes, both of us had actually started avoiding, and after a while, those small things had become such big things. So now happy to be in this place, good place, and right now also these things we always keep on improving, always making mistakes, always improvising. But now we have learned how to make mistakes and how to improvise, because it's never about the mistake. It's about whether you improvise or not, whether you improvise for your partner or not, whether you accept or not.
So tell me, how is it different that today when you make a mistake, how do Akansha and you sort it out vis-a-vis, let's say, a pre-2021 kind of era?
Yes, now we are playing the long-term game. Since 2021 November, we are playing the long-term game, because we know that this is something which we have discussed internally multiple times, that there are 1,000 things in totality which we have to improvise for each other. 1,000 things I have to change for Akanksha, and Akanksha has to change for me. Improvise, that is finding a middle ground for everything. So few principles which we have started following is, number one, we are ready to improvise for each other. Second is acceptance, because we know that we can't get away with anything. Right? Earlier what was happening was that okay, there was a fight or something like that. We were playing the defense game. We were playing the me versus you. Right? Now we are playing the we game. Okay, we have to live this out together. So it's better to improvise. Another thing which has started happening in our relationship now is that this happened multiple times, that I made a fault, I made a mistake. My partner didn't even realize that, but I myself apologized, because that's me telling myself and my partner that I want to improvise, and that has happened in a very bilateral manner. So
Amazing.
that has been one big win.
No, for sure. We had Shiv Khera on the podcast, and he spoke about how compatibility is a myth and commitment is what is important. So I'm really hearing you say that a lot, because you both have committed to this relationship,
Yes.
and like you said, you want to water your relationship, make it better, and it's constantly evolving, right? I'm sure you've sorted this out, but that doesn't mean it's sorted out for life.
Yes.
You will be constantly working together to make it better. But as long as you have the commitment to make it better, it grows. Okay, so I really want to ask you about reverse aging, and I'll tell you why, because I heard this podcast with Kunal Shah and of course others as well with
Yes.
Brian Johnson, and that guy like got my head into a spin. Right, he's taking his son's blood and doing transfusion and all of that. So where are you on that on that conversation?
99.9% of us don't need it. I'll tell you why. See, look at this as a pyramid, and the base of the pyramid is good nutrition. It might sound boring because I've repeated that 5 times. Good nutrition, taking care of all of your deficiencies, having enough antioxidants, taking care of macronutrients and micronutrients. Then comes regular workouts. Then comes your daily activity. Then comes your sleep and stress management. If the base of the pyramid is not strong, everything you do over it is bullshit.
It's going to crumble.
Right? And, I'm not saying that, let's take example of Brian Johnson. Look at his lifestyle. His lifestyle is sorted. That's level 1. If your level 1 is sorted, move to level 2. Why not? Right? Make sure you get very specific when it comes to the exercises, type of exercises, or maybe type of nutrients you are taking. I saw one of the reels where he was like, I take 100 pills every day.
Yeah.
It's fine. But if your base is not sorted, you're just going to that pills because having pills is easier than fixing these things. Then it's a house of cards.
It's
a house of cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is what it is, because most people don't work on their sleep. Most people don't work on their nutrition. Most people are not exercising. Most people
I'm guilty of it.
Most people are looking for shortcuts. I was also like this. That's why I got an aura.
Yeah.
So, stop looking for shortcuts. Start with this. Stop looking for the shiny object syndrome. Shiny object, right? It's called the shiny object syndrome. Look for things which you already know about, right? Start working on the basics, then build up over that. If you want to go extreme, you want to do those therapies and stuff like that, all of them are cool, right? And most of these therapies are mimicking something in the lifestyle which is missing. For example, there is this red light therapy, right? Lot of similar effects come from sunlight. Why don't we get up in the morning and look at the sun? Spend time in the sunlight, daylight. That would help with sleep and all that stuff also. So start with the basics, then move to advanced stuff, which is fine. And most of us would realize that, just doing the basics are changing our life for good and leading to those anti-aging benefits which we are looking for.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. I also want to ask you about food supplements, because our lifestyle is such, as you said, we're so much more indoors. We're not waking up early, not getting out, getting that sun before noon, which we should for our vitamin D. So all the deficiencies that you mentioned in the blood work, which we all are facing these days because of our lifestyle. Do food supplements actually complement that? Does it really help? Because when I do that when I do that in front of my mother, her view is कि मतलब इतना तुम खाना ही खा लो ढंग से तो ठीक हो जाएगा. Why are you eating so many pills? So where are you on that?
First, I'll give everybody a blood work list, since we were talking about blood work.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, get this blood work and, get it checked with the doctor or anyone who you know. CBC, complete blood count. LFT, KFT, these are for organs, liver and kidneys. CBC, KFT, LFT, B12, D3, get your TSH for thyroid, get your iron profile, HbA1c for your blood sugar, and CRP for your inflammation. Get these tests. Everyone should get them once, and on basis of the numbers, decide what you need to do. And what was the next question?
So 1 second, but this blood work, should you do once a quarter, once in 6 months? How do you track it?
This is an interesting question because it's different for everybody. If your health markers are totally messed up, get them every 4 to 6 weeks. Once your health markers start improving, get it 8 to 12 weeks. Once they are sorted, get them every 5 months. Every 5 months is a good and a sustainable number for most.
Okay. And my question was that if there are deficiencies, then do food supplements and all these pills really count? That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, that's actually a very good question. See, the principle is real food is the king. But if you cannot get it from real food, get it from supplements, because something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So, but again, step number 1 should be asking yourself, how can I fix my nutrition? Again, in a sustainable manner, not just for one day. Nutrition, how can I get more sunlight? And because, for example, giving example of sunlight, most people are not able to get it. Even if they're trying to get it, their numbers don't move. Supplementation is something which would be a game changer in this case.
Yeah, because I also remembered my GP telling me that just because of the way our lifestyle is, even if you sit out every day before 12 o'clock, expose your joints to increase your vitamin D, the body is not able to absorb it. So you still have to have pills. So,
yes.
I mean, I think at some point supplements do
Again, the answer is in the gray area. For some people, the answer is right.
Okay.
This is right. For some people, sunlight cuts it. But again, most blood works I see, especially of those who join the transformation program, keep in mind most of them don't have a very good lifestyle because they want to lose fat. Most of them have like their vitamin D3 is like totally messed up,
Yeah. Okay.
and even B12.
Interesting. Just one other thing I want to come back on the nutrition bit, which I was very keen to address, is around the various fads on diets. Right? You had this GM diet fad, then now everyone's on keto,
Yes.
and then there's also a whole line of thinking around intermittent fasting. What are your views on some of these, and what is really your recommendation on how should somebody pick one over the other? And
Yes.
does your body tell you what's good for you, or what is your theory on that?
In the end, see, first thing which you need to understand is every diet works, and every diet is working behind the same principle. That is, every diet is making you eat lesser calories than what you're burning, right? Let me give you. Let's take example of the keto diet. What is happening? You're just removing a complete food group. I'm not saying it's sustainable or not. I personally don't find it sustainable. But if you're removing one food group, that means your options are limited. You'll automatically lose weight because you're eating less, right? Same goes for GM diet. It's a little extreme,
Yeah,
right? You're just eating one food source on one day and
That's
stuff like
right.
that, right? Intermittent fasting is not exactly a diet. It's a way, it's a lifestyle according to me. I personally fast a lot, right? Again, is it magical? No. Would it magically make you lose weight? The answer is no. All it is doing is the same thing. For example, earlier you were eating 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now you're just your eating window is maybe 8 hours. You're just eating your lunch and dinner. You automatically would eat less. Now the question is, in that eating window, if you eat the same amount of calories as you were earlier, would there be any difference? The answer is no, right? So in the end, it
but
boils
that's
down
what
to
we
calories.
tend to do ना, कि हम
Yes.
उतने ही 8 घंटे में उतना ही ठूस रहे हैं जितना हमें नहीं करना चाहिए.
Yes, then it would be the same, right?
Yeah.
There are some indirect benefits of intermittent fasting. One of them is actually building discipline, right? Because, for example, right now, your fasting window is going on right now and you get craving for that cake. You'll tell yourself, no, I'll eat it, but after 4 hours, right? You're building that discipline bit by bit. Apart from that, anecdotally, it's great for digestion. Anecdotally, it's great for productivity. And intermittent fasting is awesome. Again, do you need to do it for better health or fat loss? The answer is no. So, in the end, whatever diet you're following, just ask yourself, is it logical? Do you see yourself following it after 3 years? 3 years of you losing fat, right? That means, is it sustainable? Because, for example, if you're following any diet which is unsustainable, you get your dream body. What happens once you have achieved that goal? You'll regress back to your old lifestyle and even worse because you'll feel guilty. Guilt is the worst emotion when it comes to fat loss, right? So what these fat diets, a lot of these fat diets do is they show that one food group is completely evil, right? Carbs are evil. A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
So that is bullshit. The way these diets are being marketed is bullshit because this industry, when it comes to a lot of people, it's running on fear mongering, right? So same goes for that Game Changers example.
Yeah.
Literally pushing one front, that means everyone eating non-vegetarian food or even vegetarian food because they were just pushing veganism. According to them, everyone who is not a vegan is doomed.
Yeah.
Right? So that is fear mongering is something which should be improvised in the industry, and that's something which I want to change. Otherwise, see, all diets are good, right? But again, find the most sustainable one, the one which you can see yourself doing after 3 years also. Also keep in mind your diet should be helping you improve your health. That means your deficiencies should be improving.
Yeah.
Right? You should be feeling energetic. Yes, there would be some days of low energy, especially when you start dieting, irrespective of whatever you start with. But you should be feeling good in your own skin. You shouldn't be feeling like it's a jail. If it is a jail, any plan wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Long term, because even if you lose weight, you'll just regress back.
And you'll go back to the old habits very
Yes.
quickly. Yeah, I agree. Intermittent really works for me as well. I find that there's a lot more clarity of thought.
Yes.
I feel it's very easy for me to focus. And anything during high carbs in the day, oh my God, makes me so sleepy. I
Yes.
just can't be myself and go through the day. Tell me now what's next for you. You've transformed over 4,000 lives. So is it 40,000, 4 lakhs, and many more? How are you going to get there? What's on your mind and what's next?
See, one thing which I strongly believe is that these numbers are kind of bogus because everyone says, stuff like million and stuff like that. I always used to think that. Now, a couple of years back, I sat back with myself and I was like, do I have a mission like this? My mission is now actually changing 1 million lives. Now, I used to think that these numbers are bogus, but I have actually created a pathway for that. And it has to be, and we can't do it alone. That's something which I've realized. So one thing which we started with was obviously that's a business also for us. It's not just the mission, it's business also. Now we are helping upcoming coaches and PTs with their knowledge when it comes to nutrition via Excel Nutrition Uni. We have 2 levels of that.
Okay.
And we are also helping the same coaches level up their business so that they can impact more lives, they can change more lives via Fitness Business Accelerator. So we have 3 sections now where we can, attack the same problem, that is a bad lifestyle, obesity, and anything which is stopping us from becoming the best version of ourselves.
Fantastic. Yeah, you're right, because you just said if you can't measure it and you can't track it, then it's not achievable.
Yes.
So you have to have a quantitative number that
Yes.
you can hit. I'll wrap this up here. Thank you so much, Yash, for this conversation. I think we spoke about so much. We spoke about women's health, which is really close to my heart and obviously impacts me directly. So thank you for sharing all the tips, but also more importantly about meditation and what you shared in terms of how it should be very practical. And this constant battle that people have that I'm not going to meditate because I have so many thoughts. That is really what you
Yes.
need to do, and that's what's going to help you get through meditation, which is that acceptance of those thoughts, and then they will start to reduce. So thank you for sharing a lot of your thoughts on not just physical health but also mental health, about your spiritual journey, and also about relationships. And I wish we could talk for longer, but I hope to have you back and talk a lot more about this.
For sure, I would love to be back and glad that we are able to provide so much of value and glad to be on Pragyaan.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.